Okay, I'm one of the ones, a new creation, one who believes I am a child of God. A holy nation, friend of the king, I am protected, and I am loved, I am an heir, so on the seas, I've been forgiven, I have been freed, I have been chosen, I've been redeemed, okay, I'm one of the ones. One of who? One of the unashamed, I mean unashamed, never do I hesitate or doubt to call upon his name, call him mighty God, call him Jesus Christ, he's the King of kings, he's the one who reigns, he's the Alpha, Omega, Jehovah, and we give him glory, cause he is the one. Yeah, we walk through the valley, we will not fear any evil, we running and not growing weary, we soaring on wings like we eagles, we getting rid of our pride, and stepping away from our ego, we keep our lips from telling lies, our tongues from speaking the evil, we got on the armor of God, the belt, the truth, the shoes, the peace, we know that the devil's a lie, that word about him will lose and sleep, we be depending on God, he said his grace is all we need, so where we keeping our minds, we keeping our minds stayed on me. Cause he is the one. I done been in the world, but I never been friends with the world. Maybe because I'm not of the world, I don't follow the world. Even if I'm meant to take an L, then it's probably out of this world. I'm a model of the world, I'm a represent God on this earth. In and outside of the church, the Father is first. I don't have a physical Bible, but baby, my Bible that broke. I know God is the one that supplies me with all that I need. That is through Jesus Christ, and I'm certain that all things are possible if you believe. So keep on speaking life, I know from the love of God that nothing can separate me. Not even death, either life, I know poverty catches up with too much slumber or sleep. So I'ma just sleep at night, and the Lord is my strength. But who should I be afraid of? I fall on my knees and repent. He's better than what I done gave her. If I am the one being sent, Satan gon' see what I'm made of. Man, if he had any sins, I'm telling you now he would change her. It's a delicate thing when I say I'm a step for the king. I put that on everything. With a mess, now I'm clean. I don't mess with the devil, it stings. I love and respect Elohim, he be setting us free. We know that all things are working together, declare and decree. Do you know of all the things God is preparing for me? No, it's never been seen. Okay, I'm one of the ones, a new creation, one who believes I am a child of God, a holy nation, friend of the king, I am protected, and I am loved, I am an heir, so on the seas, I've been forgiven, I have been freed, I have been chosen, I've been redeemed, okay, I'm one of the ones. One of who? One of the unashamed, I mean unashamed, never do I hesitate or doubt to call upon his name, call him mighty God, call him Jesus Christ, he's the King of kings, he's the one who reigns, he's the Alpha, Omega, Jehovah, and we give him glory, cause he is the one.
Looks like we're live again. But I'm hearing y'all not getting notifications. I keep telling y'all that this is how it goes. This is the purge of the BS. They want us to put out BS. They'll notify you of the BS, but they won't notify you of the purging of said BS. So of course we are here once again. It's our Saturday Spotlight. And I got a very special guest coming on a little bit later. It's gonna help me purge some BS. His name is Russ Shanks. Some of y'all might know him, some will not. But by the time this episode is over with, you'll never forget him. All right? Now, I'm gonna give the algorithm a moment. Just playing. You know we don't wait for no algorithm over here. This is the purge of the BS. So we've had plenty of BS this week. And I'm gonna get into some of that stuff, but not a lot of it today. It's Saturday, I wanna have a good time. I wanna have a good discussion. I wanna have great conversation. I want everybody to make sure that they hit that like button, subscribe, jump in the chat. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you feel as we go through this episode. It's real time right here. Real time, real talk. So as we normally do here at the Purge of the BS, for those who are new, we must put out the disclaimer. Please stand by.
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of another purge of the BS, sanctioned by the First Amendment. Frustration levels 0 to 100 have been authorized for use during this purge. All weapons are restricted. Government officials have not been granted immunity from the purge of the BS and shall undoubtedly receive the smoke. Commencing at the sound of gong, any and all BS, especially unnecessary goofiness, will be purged without consequence. Police, fire, and emergency medical services will be available, but they will be busy because they will be watching the purge of the BS. Blessed be those who have already been victims of some BS. May God be with you all.
All right, we are loaded up and ready to go here. All right, guys. Well, really early, just want to thank everybody in the chat. Al Bond in the chat. I am Z in the chat early. I needed at least 2 moderators to be in the chat today because we want 0 goofiness today in the chat. You understand? We got special guests on here. We got company coming over, okay? So I need y'all to act accordingly. All right? I'm sorry. You know, I get out of hand sometimes. So let me just go into it here. Let me go into it. Hold up. All right, what we got? So I'm gonna keep it mild before I bring on my special guest over here. But as you can imagine, it's been a very exciting week. iPhones went up 1,000%, came back down 1,000%. We don't know. But if you bought a phone this week, I don't know what you paid for it. Hopefully you didn't pay any more than you should have. We'll get into Trump's tariffs and stuff like that later, maybe. I don't know. I'm tired of talking about it. You ain't even do nothing. So, but in the interest of that, we will touch on, you know, one part of it. But you know what we do over here. This is Purge of the BS. So on Purge of the BS, we deal with a little more than just politics. It's a whole picture. It's culture. It's music. It's everything. And so because of that, I have to bring you guys my first clip over here. But before I bring on my first clip, I got to bring on my special guest because I need him to purge this BS a little bit with me first. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to bring to the podcast an old friend of mine, one of the ones doing the good work out here in the community and for the community. My man, gospel rep sensation, Newsom Award winner, Baltimore's finest, the big dog, the superhero, the artist, Mr. Russ Shanks. Would y'all give him an applause, please? Russ, you joining me right here?
What's good?
There we go. Shanks is in the building, y'all.
Yes,
Shanks is in the building. All right, we got a couple of folks on here. Ain't nothing, man. You know how it is. I'm just over here purging my BS. And I just wanted to make sure that I brought you on to the platform because people were asking me about music. And we were talking about musical options a couple of episodes ago. So I said, well, you know, it's not that hard to find the music, but you got to know who's making certain types of music. Because if not, if you're just listening to mainstream, you're only getting one side of the argument, as I would say. So I wanted to start focusing on some more positive vibes because I think that's what the world kind of needs right now. There's been a lot of negativity. So I wanted to bring on more positive energy onto the show, and I just figured you would be a great person to bring on and introduce to the audience. So thank you so much for coming on. But before I get all the way into the greatness of Russ Shanks, there was a story that came up recently regarding a school. Did you know Jay-Z had a school that he was funding, or like a school of music? That's probably a better way to say it.
I did not.
Okay, well, interestingly enough, and let me see here. I'm going to share my screen with you. If I can do that, let me just basically go here. Then we're going to go. Oh, hold on, I gotta. All right, the face is going to be really big on here. I didn't necessarily want that. Let me see here. Let me do something real quick. Hold on 1 second. All right, so you can see it. I gotta adjust something over here anyway. So you can see the screen, right? Brooklyn School backed by Jay-Z. Okay, so apparently Jay-Z started a music school and it was supposed to have students come in, get their education, and graduate debt-free. But apparently that's not what happened. And I just got this story last night because I was looking for positive black influences, positive stories, so on and so forth, to highlight. But instead I got this one. And I was just wondering, is that something that we're expecting to do now? Like, should we be going to Jay-Z's school? You think Jay-Z's got a good thing going over there? I mean, you said you never heard of it, so I don't even know what to say with that. So, nonetheless,
but I mean, just going off his name, I mean, I would, if I was a student, I would like take advantage of that if I had the opportunity, if it was legit. You feel me? So,
I got you.
Reading some of these paragraphs here, it seemed like something else happened.
Well, I'll guarantee Jay-Z made some money off of it, whatever happened. I mean, I didn't even know he had a thing going. That's what's crazy to me is like we hear all of the scandals.
Right.
We hear all the scandals. If Jay-Z's involved in the scandal or something like that, we hear that first day. But when he's building a school or supporting a school, how do we even hear about that? Or why don't we even hear about that is really my question. I guess it has to do with the media narratives, something along those lines. But it's just like I'm looking at the story, and to be honest with you, if it's a good school, a lot of people come out of college with debt. I hate to say it that way, but if it's a good opportunity, I think they said something along the lines of it was possible to come out debt free, but a lot of people aren't coming out debt free, so that's why they're getting, basically they're getting a little upset. So I don't know. I just wanted to bring this story to you because I know you're into music, and I just was like, you know what? I wonder if he's heard of this school. But yeah, there's a whole Rock Nation school. And I'll give it to him. I think it's a good thing, if it's not messing up people's lives and he's not over there scamming. But I think they're going to try to make it seem like a scam, like a Trump University or Top G University, one of those get rich quick kind of things. But it's connected to a prestigious college, and it's just a program, a music program, according to them. So we're going to see how that turns out. I'm hoping for the best because I really think the world just needs more positive images in front of them. I think we've been fed too much negativity and everybody's just snapping all the time now. So
absolutely,
it becomes rough. So let me bring my cam back over here. Hold on. Because I want to get into the actual meat of the episode, which is Russ Shanks. That which is Russ Shanks. And so let me bring this on over here. Because I'm going to bring up my situation. So Russ, I know who you are, but the folks that are in the chat and everybody like that may not. So can you just give us a little bit of background on, your journey as a rap artist and like what drew you to the rap genre and what drew you to the particular genre within rap that you chose? Just a quick synopsis.
Absolutely. Born and raised Cherry Hill, South Baltimore. Already know. Shout out to Westport. Shout out to Cherry Hill. Shout out to the, you know what I'm saying? Hip hop, or I'm gonna say music, was always in my household. My mother sang. My father, he's a organist. So, and my sisters and I, we sang on choirs and things like that. So music has always been, a part of my growing up. And but then I always loved hip hop. Like when I got into hip hop, into the Message by Grandmaster Melly Mel and all of them, and the Fat Boys. I was heavy into that stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Hip hop like literally blew my mind when I first heard it.
It did.
I'm gonna say 1970. That's when I first started paying attention to it, like in 1979. So all of 80s was hip hop. Will Smith, Fresh Prince. Sorry, all of those, cats. And then I got into NWA. I got into the Roots. I got into Ice Cube. All those dudes. Tribe Called Quest. So I can run the gamut on everybody that I listen to. Right. So hip hop was literally like that thing that caught my attention and all the music genres that I listened to. But then like in mid 90s, I started going to church. I found Christ and everything. And of course, the tradition says that I have to drop all of that. I have to drop, anything that's secular, including hip hop. But God gave me a different path, right? So he gave me the gift to bridge the gap between hip hop and gospel. Not just, I mean, there are hundreds of or thousands of Christian hip hop artists out there, but I'm just saying, for me personally, I didn't think it was possible, right? So because of what Christian told me, but God told me different, and He blessed me with the gift to write and to rhyme, and I just pretty much give Him the glory in everything that I write and that I rhyme. So, and it was a gift that I had to cultivate. I had to learn. I had to build it. So it wasn't like He blessed me and I was spitting bars like straight off rip. No,
right.
I had to study. I had to, get an understanding of how to write and how many bars, how many, all that stuff. So I became a student, and and I'm still learning even to this day. So I bless God for just allowing me that opportunity to spread His word and spread my testimony through this genre of music. It's wonderful.
It is wonderful. And it's actually, I've been listening to your stuff for years, and a lot of other artists in Baltimore, and I always do wonder, because there's this weird balance that has to be struck, and it's like you gotta be acceptable to two completely different worlds at the same time. And have you struggled with that in trying to stay accepted in both simultaneously?
I have struggled. Sometimes I still do, because when I first started, Christian hip hop or gospel rap or whatever you want to call it was kind of like the stepchild of both the church and secular, because the church didn't really accept it, because you couldn't just go into any church and just start spitting bars because we sound too much like the world. Mm-hmm. But then you couldn't really go to the clubs with it too much because you sound too much like the church. So it's like we was like stuck in the middle in this purgatory. You know what I'm saying? So we had to find our niche, like to kind of blend that gritty street style that's acceptable in on the secular side, but also to make sure that it's biblically sound, so the church can't say you're doing something wrong. So right. It's like, once we found that happy medium, it became much easier. And then I felt comfortable going into the clubs or wherever I was booked to spit this and not feel, number one, ashamed, but also, when I say ashamed, I mean ashamed of the gospel, but also ashamed thinking I'm gonna be called corny or saying that I sucked or whatever, because I'm not spitting gun bars or talking about, selling drugs in the corner or, freaking a lot of girls, like that kind of stuff. So it's like, I felt comfortable, I felt confident, and you and I worked together on a lot of songs. So you hear, you've seen the confidence that I bring, like, right? Because and can I just say this one thing for all the listeners? Like, I know they know who you are.
No, they don't.
And I know
they don't at all, to be honest.
But let me say this. There are a few people that I've worked with that have that when I do songs with them, they make me second guess what I write. Say Cool's one of those guys. Trust me. Every song that we've been on, when I heard his verse, I said, "Oh Lord, I gotta go back. Like, I gotta go back." Say Cool's bringing that, like, cause your voice, you sound like a lion on the mic, bro. And it's like I can't come with that soft Q-tip type. I gotta come with that fire, man. It's every single song we've ever done together, it's like I had to do that, bro. So I appreciate you, man, because you push me, man. You one of those guys that push me and force me to step up and elevate, because I cannot go into a firefight with a cigarette lighter, bro. I gotta bring a flamethrower when I'm working with the likes of you, man.
Yeah, let me just say I appreciate that. And maybe later I'll throw on one of our old things just for the sake of doing it, But yeah, on this forum, I haven't even really addressed music. People seem to think it's a political show. It's really just a discussion, and wherever the BS lies that's taking the most of the people's minds is what I decide to deal with. So at times that's politics, but in my opinion, we got to get past the politics and start to get to some of these root problems. And I think some of the root problems start in the community, and within the community is what we promote. So it's the culture that we're promoting to a degree creates, it's like a self-perpetuated problem. And, you know, I think a lot of the population seems to be looking outwardly for some type of help. And it's like, well, honestly, if we start here, you know, it might not change everything, but if we just start by what we're promoting more of. And I've heard so many really good Christian artists, but I think what happens for the person that's doing the music and the person that's listening, and I'll get into my own personal piece of this. One of the reasons that I had to step away from the music type at the time when I did, and I shouldn't have, but at the time when I did, was because I was going through a divorce and I felt ashamed of being in front of people while I was going through that process, and I was in a gospel world. I felt like it was wrong. So I decided to take a break. I think you remember that. And I just never came back from the break.
Yeah.
Like that's literally what happened. I just never came back from the break. And here we are, you know, 10 years or so later or whatever, right? So the thing is, maybe if more of us could be like you and be accepting of whatever our flaws are and start identifying those things with what the younger generation is seeing, maybe we can make that connection. And I just like I said, I really always like what you do, but the fact that you just told me that I'm, you know, motivating you, that really touched me, because I'm like, wow, I didn't even think I had that effect. I was just, you know, hanging out with Russ and doing a verse. I didn't think it was, you know, I didn't think it was a motivator, but I do know you brought that fire, and I was like, well, I need to bring said fire. So it was kind of like a mutual thing. I'm gonna be honest with you, I felt the same exact way. So
I appreciate it.
And it made for some good stuff. It really did.
Joint that you and I, every joint that you're featured on is a classic in my book, bro. Like straight up.
Wow.
Like,
okay. We definitely gonna have to play something later.
I don't know if we was rocking with 3HP. Remember we was rocking with Troy Edwards and 3HP. Troy tried to make me, you, and Red Dot a group.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Speaking of 3HP, let me. You know what? I'll give Troy his props. I haven't talked to Troy in a minute, but I see he's still promoting. So I didn't know if you guys were still working together. I was actually going to ask you about that, which I'm doing right now. So are you guys still working together? You still working with 3HP Records and Troy Edwards over there?
I have. The last time I did anything related to 3HP was the Hair Expo. That was back in 2022. That's the last time I saw Troy in person. We did the Hair Expo, and you know, he called me, hit me up, asked me to be a part, and you know, we rocked out, and that was the last time I talked to him. So I hope he's doing well, you know, straight up.
All right. Well, I don't. You might not be able to see it, but our crowd can see it. It's got a page from 3HP Records. I see the Fisherman is in there. I remember Fisherman. Scope is in there. So this was a nice joint. My man Malik is in there. So, and then there's me, a little bit heavier and a little bit younger. But yeah, I really, like I said, that's really what happened. Nobody ever asked, and I never really told anybody until today what happened. But that's literally what happened. I had an issue where I was like, yeah, I can't be doing this and this at the same time. And I said, I'm going to go deal with this first. And that dealing with that has now become what I've been dealing with ever since, if that makes sense.
It does.
I know it sounds crazy, but I still have to deal with the same thing that took me away from that oh so long ago. I'm still dealing with the crap that comes along with it. So it's like, very tough, very tough. But anyway, let me bring it back to my main screen over here. I got to ask you a couple more questions. You know, the crowd is always interested in the conversation. But I wanted to ask you this particular question because, you know, the folks will bring it up later and it'll be more like something that we talk about in kind of behind the scenes. But do you think that as a Christian artist, you're asked to tone down the rap jargon, so to speak? Like there's certain words that may not be profane, but it's like you can't use them. Does it seem to box you in at all?
No. So wait, let me make sure I understand the question. You're talking about not keeping God out of my music, but
no.
Okay. No. So no, I never felt that way. That I never felt like I was in a box. I just had to kind of find that, again, that happy medium, because what I do is, instead of using like the N-word or, the typical stuff that you hear, right. in hip hop, I try to incorporate a bunch of metaphors and punchlines that kind of like, and let that become my my persona. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
Like my sister She Flows, she told me recently that she used to call me. She never said it to me to my face, but I guess when she's talking to other folks about me, she called me the metaphor king, right? And because like everything, every bar is like such and such like, such and such like, such and such like. So it's like, because I'm always, throwing metaphors, and it's like that's just become my persona, my niche, my the thing that I throw out there that people know me by. So
you come from the metaphor time class, like the ones that came up in the 80s, 90s, the same folks that you mentioned, because back then the metaphor was how we were able to strike. There was a time where the FCC didn't allow all the violence and all of these things on the radio. So the metaphor was how we were able to say those things without saying them. I'll attack you like a lion or whatever. Just something where it doesn't say, I'm going to murder you right now. So,
and metaphor was my original stage name. Like, yeah. So it was like, that was always like the thing. Like I had to kind of build that, because I wasn't with the, calling my brother the N-word or talking about murdering people. But lyrically, I can say, like, you could be a lyrical assassin, right? Of course you can, right? You could be you could murder dudes lyrically, right? But you just have to say it in a way where it doesn't speak violence, but it's just talking about how dope you are as an MC, right? So you just have to find a way, and I think that's where we lost it, because now the MC has kind of faded. Like, to now we only have a few. We have the J. Coles, we have the Kendricks, and we have the Drakes. Those are the MCs. Everybody else is just saying whatever.
Whatever.
They just saying
sounds
whatever.
About right. Yeah, they just kind of saying whatever.
Right. So that's why it's crazy though when I think about it though, because when the Kendrick and Drake beef started, it's like Kendrick, Drake, and Cole were the big three. And I'm thinking, like, that's all we got? Like, those are the lyricists we have now?
That's serious, but that's a good point.
You had the entire Wu-Tang Clan, you had Tribe, you had the Roots, you had, you know what I'm saying? You had Redman, you had Method Man. Like, it's like, now we only down to these three. Everybody else is doing ratchet stuff. Like, that, to me, that's insane, bro.
I have to agree. And I had a conversation with my youngest son about this, because now he started rapping. That's what the kids are doing these days. And so he started wanting, of course he wants my approval on it, because he knows I used to do a lot of music and stuff. So he's bringing it to me, and he's saying the same thing everybody else is saying. I said, well, first of all, you don't own that, so you don't need to talk about that. You're not holding guns. You're not doing anything like that. So don't even say it, because there's already enough of that out there.
Already enough.
That's all it is. Look, I get it. It's a form of self-expression, and that is what rap was intended to do. But if everybody's got the same story, then where's the authenticity in it? Where's the individuality, really, if everybody's saying the same exact thing?
Exactly. So, it's just carbon copy. That's all we're doing. And then anytime you have a lyricist like Rhapsody, shout out to her, but she's getting less play than a Sexy Red. And I'm not hating. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on any. I'm just saying Rhapsody can spit. Sexy Red, and I don't know if it's true, I don't think Sexy Red was like wanted to be like a rapper. She just wanted to be a star, and it's different wanting to be a star and wanting to be an MC. Like, you could tell wanted to be an MC.
Right.
A star will do whatever. It's just like an actor in Hollywood. I'll do whatever to get on. Like, if I gotta kiss a man, I'll do it. Or if I gotta do a sex scene with this person, I'll do it just to get on. That's kind of like the where we are right now, where people are doing whatever to get on and to stay on. But as you mature, where do you fall to when you mature, when you're too old for that? Like, where does your skill go? If you never had it, then there's nothing that you can, pull on in order to maintain your success. And I think that's where
couldn't imagine that. I couldn't imagine Sexy Red with a Vegas residency in a few years. Like, I just don't see it. And it for me, it makes me worry about the future of music. So that's why, I'm going to do my best to promote positive music. I listen to all types of stuff, but people don't know I listen to all types of stuff. But that's because I like to take in more information, and I don't want to just hear the same thing all the time. So some people do, and that's kind of what they've drawn us into, is just thinking the same thing all the time. Oh, that's hot, that's hot. No, it's not. That's the same thing the last person said. So I do have a couple more questions for you. Like I said, we're kind of freestyling here, and that's what we do. But do you think that basically that when people say that hip hop in a gospel sense is not authentic hip hop, how do you deal with that argument in black culture? Because that seems to be who has the issue with it.
So I've never heard anybody say that to me directly.
Well, not real. They'd be like, yeah, it's not real hip hop, that kind of thing.
I know it's out there.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those, I can show you better than I can tell you.
Right.
Type situations. You know what I'm saying? Like me and my Mad Saint crew, shout out to Nate, Jose, and Clay Turn Up. Man, like everybody on my team, everybody that I pretty much work with and has performed with, a lot of them. Like that, when we do our thing, no matter where we are, that question or that comment never comes up, because
you will probably lay hands. I'm just playing. I wouldn't mess with you. I'm sorry.
I mean, man, it's like, I think like we're blessed with the true gift of stage presence. Because, what I'm saying, it's not like we're standing like a statue sitting up there rapping, and it's not like we're giving you basic bars like JUSUS, he is the best, like on type stuff. Like, we're literally working and cultivating this craft where we can present it anywhere. And so they can say that, but that's how we combat it. So that's the answer. That's my answer to the question. That's how we combat it. We study it, and we add our personalities into it to make it ours. But we also make sure that we give it back to him who gave us the gift. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so we're not going to present it halfway. We're not going to present it, soft, or you say Christian hip hop is soft or is corny or whatever. No, you won't get that. You won't get that from us. Like, you can maybe get that from somewhere else, but from me and from the people that I operate with, nah, you're gonna hear, and then the testimony too, because the stories that we tell, it's not basic stories, bro. It's like we're talking about our lives too. So just like somebody could talk about, like some secular dude could talk about, my mom was a crackhead and I grew up in the streets. That's our stories too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Our stories are like, we grew up in the same areas and we grew up in the same ways. Like, some people grew up in a crack house or a trap house or whatever, or was selling drugs at one point, or was in prison at some point. So, but then when God bring us out and we see the real, like, we can't in good conscience glorify that lifestyle. But what we can do is talk about it and tell our story and say where God brought us from. True. You know what I'm saying? So I think people connect on that level too, because when I tell people where I came from, where I grew up, and how I grew up, it's like, oh, I see. So I think off rip though, they expect us, when they hear that we're Christian artists, they expect us to come in there with a suit and tie, with a collar, with a robe on, thinking we gonna be sitting up there like we preaching from the pulpit. No, we look just like y'all. We dress just like y'all. It's just that, our story is not about glorifying the stuff that we used to do. We'll talk about it, we'll mention it, but we're gonna show you where God can take you from and where he can bring you out of. Mm-hmm. So that, you know what I mean? So I think, and then that takes a lot of energy and know-how in order to do that. You got to know how to put a song together in order to do something like that successfully.
That's actually really, really kind of a profound statement, because a lot of people forget that most gospel rap artists, I don't know about everybody else, but matter of fact, a lot of them, a lot of pastors, a lot of people get into these spaces because of their testimony, because of what they had to go through and that God brought them out of, and they're so thankful for that they put that energy into something more positive. So you're right. The backstories be the same. The single mother growing up in the hood, dad left or whatever, or people selling drugs, or that you sold them yourself. But for some reason, there's a fork in the road for everybody, and you can take that information and either go in the other direction and start doing the negative and continue doing that, end up in jail, prison, death. Or you could say, hey, I saw that, realized it wasn't for me, and I'd rather do something positive. And I think trying to bridge that gap is really where my issue is. I haven't figured it out either, and I'm just wondering, what do you think of as far as solutions, other than just you as a person that can bridge that gap? Like, are there any other artists that you think are working on the same thing currently?
You mean mainstream artists?
Yeah, that you can see that are really trying to do this similar.
I would say somebody like a J. Cole, because listening to his music, you could tell went from where we first heard him, before he had the locks and before he just wore t-shirts and shorts. He was going in another direction. I think he was looking to become the next Jay-Z, right? Like wearing designer stuff. But I'm not sure exactly what happened in his journey.
He saw something in there he didn't like. Yeah.
Something happened where he needed to speak differently and to address things differently and not promote the stuff that he started out promoting or what other artists are promoting. And I think Kendrick is going in that direction as well. And it's weird that, again, we talking about those guys again, because those are two of our top lyricists in the game right now, in the mainstream right now. And it's like these guys are not walking away, but kind of turning this hip hop focus on a tilt now, because now of what they're talking about, like they not like us. It's really a social, even though he's dissing somebody, it's still a social song. He's talking about social issues. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
right.
same thing with J. Cole. They're talking about things that can help uplift this community and us as a people, where others are talking about, they popping mollies and they doing this extra stuff. You know what I'm saying? So
very true.
So you see those guys, and you can see that. I can tell that J. Cole, he's not the type of guy that will say, bragging about he got millions of dollars, but I know he's not broke. You look at the festival he just did, what, last week? You see the numbers out there?
Yeah.
Like I'm saying, so he has the fan base, but it's like he doesn't get a whole lot of of course he doesn't get a whole lot of radio play because he's not spitting garbage. And the garbage is what sells. The garbage is what get people, and that should say more about us than the industry.
I don't I agree with you in that regard, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that people push what they want to push. Yes, we're responding to it. We're responding to it because we're human. But if they had the same amount of promotion behind a Russ Shanks that they have behind a Kendrick Lamar, I'm sure we would get similar results in the opposite direction, because people would be receiving it at that level, at playing something 10 times a day, or seeing it on TV, and really being fed those things. Just like when you change your diet, you start changing one thing out, and after a while you get used to the fresh food and the fresh vegetables and not so much junk food anymore, and then you prefer it, and then when you go back to the junk food, what happens? You get sick. So I think because we're not allowing us to eat the healthy food in forms of entertainment, it's like you can't give that same props to our Christian artists, because people will say something's wrong with it. Like Kendrick Lamar, I love his music, but he gets to come out and thank God at an award show. Meanwhile, he's using every word in the book in the music. So some people will take that wrong, and they start crip walking and thinking that they're gang members instead of taking the fact that, hey, he's actually making a social call. So it's almost like we can't even decipher the messages because we're so used to all the negative. That's all that people can take in. So I'm just wondering, like, how do you think, you know, other than starting with things like this podcast and trying to get this word out there, how can we melt over into a more positive energy? And this is a double-edged question. When the people who promote and push the music are not from the culture that it seems to be affecting the worst. And I'm not going on a Kanye rant because that'll get you in trouble. But I'm just saying, if that group of people isn't affected by those messages, the people that are really putting it out, how can we get that angle to change if it's not affecting the folks that are actually pushing it?
It's going to have to be the artist's choice, like, and because the promoters, those who are promoting it, they're going to go where the money is. They're going to go with what is popular, right? The stripper culture has become real popular. The gang culture has become real popular. But if we start to get artists more like me and more like you and more, you know, that are spitting positive messages with a story and with some substance, like we did in the mid 90s, early 2000s and things like that, I think the shift will happen. It won't happen like that though, because it you know, the artist has to kind of filter out that negative or those things that's really a detriment to our community, filter it out. And it'll take a while because we're so saturated by it. We're so saturated by it. Like, you can't turn on any radio station, any urban radio station without hearing it, right? Especially from the female artists, right? That's, you know, and I think that once because now where are the Lauryn Hills, right? You know, where is she?
Yeah, they exist, but we don't get to hear them.
We get to hear them, and that's what I'm saying. So the artists that are already there have to make a decision. They have to make a choice, and I think, you know, either you stick with the money, or you make a mature decision to say, you know what, I can't continue to put this out, especially if I have children or people looking up to me. I can't continue to do this. I have to change. I have to switch. I have to do something different and forget the money. Like, if the money leaves, then it leaves, but, you know, and then invest in themselves, because that way they won't need the labels. They won't need the promoters. They, you know, they have, you know, you have people like, what's his name? Chance the Rapper, right? Mm-hmm. He does everything himself.
And he is doing all right, ain't he?
He's doing fine, right? And I heard he came from that Christian hip hop background too. So, you know, if we can get to that level where we don't need the labels, I mean, you know, the fact that a lot of people are independent now, shows that it can be done. But, you know, you still got to get past that machine that is the industry, like you said, that's being run by people that don't look like us, you know, because I guarantee you, if a rapper came out, like, look at Eminem, right? For example, Eminem talked about 8 Mile, where he's from, but he didn't talk about his people. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
He talked about himself. He talked about
about his parents. Yeah, he talked about like his house.
He did his house. So, but he didn't talk about what he would do to a person that looks like him.
Right.
Like, we talk about what I'm gonna do to a person that looks like us. So, you know what I mean? So that in our culture, that sells. People, I mean, you look at the battle rap culture, it's all there. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's what it is.
Wow.
So artists have to make the decision, I think, to say, I'm not doing this for the money. I want to do it for the love. Or I want to do it to uplift those in my community. And that can be their way of giving back. Like, if they don't give back monetarily, like some do, like a Jay-Z opening up a school or whatever, give back by putting more positive stuff out into the atmosphere, into your community. Change the algorithm, because I heard you say that word a lot. Change the algorithm of what is being put out there, and that way you won't have these up and coming artists following your breadcrumbs to become just like you, and then keeping that negative cycle going. they can go a different route, you know, because then you got these rich kids, like people who grew up in gated communities, like T.I.'s son and Michael Irvin's son, rapping the same, like they grew up in the streets and they didn't. It's like how can you in good conscience rap about you got guns and you shooting people when you grew up in a rural area, gated community, with probably more people that don't look like you than look like you, but you're talking about killing people that look like you.
Right. You know, that's a really interesting question. And I'll be honest, even in this particular episode, because of the topic, it's such a sensitive topic, I know that the algorithm's not going to be working with us on this. They want me, I'm telling you, they want me to just talk Trump all the time. And I'm like, yo, I am way bigger than that. So I'll speak on it, but this is not what that's for. So anytime I have a Trump conversation, they push 20,000 people to the live. But when I'm having real conversations, trying to actually help the community, I get my faithfuls on, you know, a couple of my mods, and then everybody else just gets the shorts later. And this is where I want to have the conversation because I'm tired of seeing it. A friend of my son's got murdered a couple weeks ago. Now, granted, they did just catch the guy a day or two ago, so update on that story for people that were with me when I was talking about that. I got real emotional about that because I realized that it's because we don't value life the same when it's a black life. We say black life matters, or Black Lives Matter, and I don't mean the organization. Like, we say that among ourselves that we matter, but if we're willing to always fight and kill each other, then we don't value the life that much. And I think that comes from upbringing, environment. But like you said, you can either take that and say, I don't want to do that with my life, and I don't want my kids to grow up like I did, or other people become comfortable and start generational poverty. So to bridge the gap between, I feel like, you know, there's a need for people to be not necessarily religious, but at least spiritual, at least answer to a higher power that tells you that this is right and this is wrong, and that you can't just be led by emotion at all times. You got to allow logic to be, like, logically, I'm not poor, so I can't be writing stories about being poor.
Right.
I can write stories about being middle class all day, because that's how I grew up and that's where I'm at. You want to know about having credit issues or not picking up the phone when the debtors call because you don't feel like paying them and you tell them to talk to Equifax and TransUnion? I can tell you all about that. But I can't tell you about having to eat government cheese every day and being, you know, laying on a mattress in the middle of the floor with 3 brothers and sisters. Like, that's not my story. So if I came out there and started talking that, people would check me on it, which I expect them to. So what I'm saying is, I feel like the only reason why this stuff is going on is because people ain't checking them. Like we check them. Like I checked my son, what he was talking about. Like Michael Irvin didn't check his son and say, shut up.
Michael Irvin did.
He did after the fact. Yeah, he did after the fact.
Then the son came back and said, he don't know how. You know, everybody want to be tough. And, like, I don't understand what it is about hip-hop music where everybody has to be tough. Like, you could be tough, but it's not like you gotta be tough 24/7, like, or you gotta yourself. It's like it's the country music singers, R&B singers, like they can say, like as an R&B singer, I can sit here and say, I would love you all night long, girl. I would make love to you all night long. I could be a 5-minute brother. You feel me? But in my song, I would make love to you all night long. But they don't get called out on it.
Right.
Rappers, though, I can say, I'm in these streets all the time, bro. I'm out here. I got bricks. I got this. They expect that to be true. It's just, it could just be entertainment. I could be saying it for entertainment, but the streets expect you to be real. And that's where we run into when you go to these concerts and you go into these streets, you go visit the communities where your music is being played. Mm-hmm. They expect you to have that same energy that you had in that song, bro. They will, like you said, they will test you and make sure and see if you about what you talking about. So
is that only for black people or black music?
Yes, it is. It is, and it's only because we talk it up. We talk it up so much, and like I said, the gang culture is so embedded in this genre right now that when you go to these places where these dudes do it for real, Like you said, you talk about check. They will first test you and then check you if you're not real. And sometimes it costs you your life. You know what I'm saying?
That's the sad truth. And it's like trying to teach that lesson before it happens. Nobody wants to hear it. Then you see these stories every day about somebody getting murdered, this and you're like, well, how'd that happen? Well, a lot of times it's because somebody was checking them or testing them, and they don't have any value for their life. It's like, I don't want you to get through this lesson after I teach it to you. So as a father, I don't want to kill my kids. I want to teach them and send them forward with that information. So if I have an issue with a person on the street, I have to think the same way. It's like, all right, I'm not going to harm this person, but I want to make sure the next person that runs into them, they don't do this to them, because my job is to protect others as well. So it becomes like a teachable moment, but not a violent moment. Not everything has to be resolved with violence, because I don't like violence because I know I can be violent. You see what I'm saying? So I don't want to get it to that point where somebody's either going to the graveyard or to the jail or both, because that's where it'll end up. I know I'm capable of those things. So I'm like, you know what? I don't ever want to have to do that. So I'll do everything in my power to make sure it doesn't get to that location. But there's a few exceptions, I'll be honest. My kids, my grandbabies, like, you do something crazy there, I don't know what to tell you. I might lose it. But you know, if you're just talking trash or whatever, you know, I get people, you know, being online, I get people in the chat all the time. They got stuff to say. It's not even that serious, you know? And so I'm just wondering, going forward, how do we see, or how do you see gospel rap evolving within the black culture as a positive? Like, to get it's never gotten that push. Honestly, it got that push one time, early 2000s, around when Ken Jones was out. And what was the other crew I used to, Cross Movement, when they were coming out, that time period, that was around the time we were really doing stuff too. There was a push there, and we lost that push. So how do you think we get that push back going forward?
I think there has to be like a concerted effort to put out, first of all, quality music, number one, because I think because some of these artists think that the church will accept things, you know, whatever you put out, long as it got Jesus in it, they shortcut. They don't get good production. They don't get that stuff mixed and mastered. They don't seek out radio play. They just want to stream. And it's like, that's cool. But in order to get that push, man, you have to be consistent in promotion. You have to be consistent, even if you got to do it yourself. Just, you know, pushing your stuff, but also making sure your stuff is quality. And I think also the other thing is get out there and do live events. Because I think that's another thing that we've lost too, because of streaming and social media. A lot of these artists are just putting videos on social media instead of doing live events. Like, go out and touch people, like where they are. Like, and that way you can actually minister directly, right? And that's the one thing. I love social media, don't get me wrong. I love putting those videos up and all that. But where I thrive is when I'm on stage or in the midst of people. I got the mic in my hand and I'm just going for everything. And it's like I can look them in their eyes and see, like, if those words are sinking in, and I can like focus in, and then after the show I can go to them and talk to them, or they come up to me and we having discussions. That's where the real change happens after the, you know what I'm saying, when you're in front of them directly. So that's another, that I think that's the biggest push that we can do, is like start doing these live events. Like, get off the social media, or, you know, you can have the social media, you don't have to stop it, but get out there and actually start ministering your music live. You know, because like you said, we had a push back then. I think that was the reason for the push, because man, we was doing shows every week, bro. You know what I'm saying? Every week we was doing something. Now that we have social media, everybody doing, and then we had the COVID hit, you know, things kind of slowed down because that we found out a way to do it virtual. And I think we need to get back to that.
Get back in front of people. Yeah, we got to get back in front of them. As we sit on an internet podcast. So, But I'm getting ready to close out the interview part because I do want to get to some of your music. I do want to get to some of your art as well, which is pretty cool because I wanted to ask about that. I know you've done an art piece for me, which I still have. So thank you for that. But I just, there's this one question that's kind of been looming in my brain, at least for the last couple of minutes. And I'm wondering, is hip hop, rap, whatever, the only genre of music where the culture to which the music represents is not owned by that culture? Are we the only one? Like, this country music isn't owned by like a bunch of black companies. You see what I'm saying? Rock music isn't owned by a bunch of black companies. It's they own their stuff, but for whatever reason, our genre is not owned by a lot of black companies. I'm sure there's people in there, but it's like we represent a culture, but we're not even the owners of the culture's music anymore. And I'm just wondering, is this the only genre of music where that's done? Is in hip-hop?
It is, and I think that's the reason why, you know, we're having this discussion, is because we don't own it. So those who are the gatekeepers of everything are only letting certain things in because, you know, they know we will absorb it, but at the same time, it's low key keeping us bound in a sense. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's keeping us bound in a sense. Like, keep it real. Where our black women are only seen as women who twerk all the time, or our black men they all look like threats or look like somebody that sell drugs or rob, and it kind of puts out there, not just to our community but to the other communities, like the police and the hospitals. Like when we get injured and we go to the hospital, they see us as we're projected on TV or in our music. And they don't get to know the individual. They don't get to know the person. You know what I'm saying? So it's to look at us as a monolith when you have gatekeepers filtering out. This is how these people look. This is who they are. This is who they support. This is who they give their attention to. So of course, when you see them on the street, they're going to be that because this is what they like.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, so, I mean, it is an interesting conversation. I want to give a couple of shouts to the folks in the chat for staying around for a good conversation today. I think this is Keniana jumped in the chat here, basically saying that the generation isn't taught how to effectively resolve their disputes with other people without resulting in violence. It's a topic that we've covered on this podcast a few times about conflict resolution. Everything don't deserve a bullet.
Yep.
Everything is not worth your life, whether you the one that's perpetrating it or receiving it. Everything is not worth a life. It's just, who are we to say that? But like I said, if you mess with my kids, I just have a thing with that. But as far as just, I'm mad because you took too long on the street to get through the light and I missed the light. Like, people get killed over that kind of stuff, and that's not just black people. That's everybody got a problem. So, I mean, we can start with our culture because that's where I'm at. That's who I interact with. So that's why I'm saying I'm going to start there. But I'm in no way saying that black people are the only violent people. It's just that we seem to be the only ones that, like, accept it. Yeah, we glorify it. Yeah, we glorify it. We glorify the stereotype.
You look at the reality shows, especially the ones with the young ladies on it, the baddies and all that. They fighting every episode. Every episode.
And this is supposed to be grown women. Some of them are like 40. Some of these women on these shows fighting in their 40s.
Yeah.
Not even fighting over nothing. Like fighting over, I don't like how she looked at me. Like that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? That stuff is crazy to me. I can't watch it. That's why I don't watch stuff like that. I try not to watch a lot of TV. I watch sports from time to time, and I watch a few movies. If I have a certain movie I want to see, I'll watch that. But I try not to just watch TV because I know what it's designed to do. So I know if I sit in front of it for long enough, I'm going to be advertised to. I am going to get perceptions. I am going to get certain ideas because that's what it was designed to do. So when I watch certain people that like can't get off their phone, and I'm like, yo, it's doing exactly what it's designed to do. They have to keep looking at it. That's what it was trying to do. So I will consciously tell myself, I'm not going to look at TV for the day. Like, even if it's on in a room, I'm going to turn my back to the television and do something else. You see what I'm saying? Just because I know what it's designed to do, and I don't want my brain to be influenced anymore. Because at one time, I was even caught up. years ago, but I was able to make, oh, this is stupid. That's BS, because I probably met somebody who was like, yeah, we're lying about this. We're not doing this. And I'm out there trying to prove myself to be worthy of a particular reputation. And really, the people who I thought I was trying to prove myself to weren't really doing it. The real gangsters was quiet. That's what I found out. They wasn't saying nothing. I didn't learn that until I say, 15, 20 years later, after I was getting in trouble and all that kind of stuff. But I realized who the real gangsters were. Man, he was living right next door, helping you with your groceries, not saying a word. But you find out later, like, oh, that guy? Wow, he was such a nice guy. Never knew. Facts. Because that's the OGs. They come up out of that hanging on the corner every day. They go into regular life, and those are the guys you really don't want to mess with. They're quiet, and those are the ones you really don't want to play with. But nonetheless, I know a lot of people are going to miss this live episode because I had put out early. I tried not to. If I mention anything about God in the description, they do not like that. They don't cut it, but they definitely don't push it because they feel like that would offend people more than if I had people from the alphabet community and I was pushing for that. They want me to push for that. I got a survey last night asking me if I would push for acceptance of the LGBTQ community on my podcast. And I was like, no, I'll have no parts of that. I said, they got their own crew. They don't need me. So, but the fact that someone would even ask that, to me, is like, I don't know if I'm coming across like that guy or what, but they basically, if you do things a certain way on YouTube specifically, I don't know about some of the other forums, but they do guide you here. They'll tell you what they want you to talk about. So what I do is I wrap it up into what I actually want to talk about, and then I'll give them this other thing. But this particular episode, I didn't try to hide it like I normally do. And I can see from the algorithm push, because even if I didn't get as many views as I normally would, there would at least be a certain amount of watch time on it. It's not really pushing the show out. And so I was doing this as a beta test, because I just did a show 2 days ago that was about some teacher or something like that. I forgot what it was about. It's live, so it's just whatever's happening at the time. But I see what's going on, and I'm saying to myself, I know who runs this forum. It's the same people that run hip-hop, if you didn't know. Same group. So if I can't get it out in the music that they already supporting, why would they let me do it on YouTube? Right. See what I'm saying? And I'm not going to get into you know what I'm talking about. We talk about the ownership. Doesn't matter what they look like. We know what we're talking about. There's a group of people that run that. And when they decide, oh, we don't want to hear about God or positives, they suppress the content. And it's happened to me a few times because I'm me, so I go all over the place. Sometimes I be cussing. I ain't perfect, But for the most part, if I do this Trump thing or I do something with, what's the other topic they love? It's definitely Trump. Right now, if you talk about Trump, or you got something to do with Trump and Elon Musk, they're pushing all that content. But I don't want my show to just be that, because really, I only care so much. Because meanwhile, our community is messed up. So I can't spend all this time talking about those guys if I have people that I want to promote, good messages I want to put out like yours. So I'm a little upset at the algorithm today because I wanted them to show Russ Shanks some love. And they're not showing Russ Shanks no love right now. So that's okay. I'm going to remember that. I'm going to remember that. Because that's what they do. That's what they do. But nonetheless, it's still been a good time. So I want to get into the latter portion of the interview here. I want to go over a couple of pieces of music that you got. We'll let everybody know where they can find you. I want to go over your art pieces and stuff just really quickly, and then we will allow any questions in the chat, and then we're going to get out of here. So for those that are still here that actually got the notification, man, I can't believe these numbers. I'm gonna try not to have a fit on air, but they bugging right now. Let me just say that they are bugging right now, but that's cool. I'll take it. So I wanted to get into the music. Okay, because you sent me a couple of joints, and I wanted the people to hear it. Now, the reason why I did this interview the way I did is because I get copyright hits all the time. Am I going to get a copyright hit on this? I don't know. Your stuff is probably copywritten either by yourself or a website that you already put it on. So we'll see if I come back with that. But the good thing is it's at the end of the episode, or at least in its own portion, so I can always cut it out and we can still have this posted. But YouTube is real finicky about music these days. They only want you to play the music that they have, like the music that they have in their little library, which most of it is whack. Is the other problem. It's horrible music. Not all of it. There's a few good ones. I got one or two of them that I found. But we're talking thousands of songs, and you only finding 2 or 3 that are like, oh, okay, that's a wasted library. But anyway, I'm going to share the sound with you.
Okay.
Let's see what I got here, and that way, you bring it on over. Just try to share sound. That's it. Just share computer audio. All right. So the first one I got is Gravity. Did you want to give any pre-context to it before people hear it, or just want them to hear it?
Just want them to hear it.
All right, cool. So let me get this going. Let's see here. It might be a little loud, folks. Shanks knows how to get his stuff mixed. So, see what we got.
Temporary layoff, easy credit rip-off. Waiting on them good times, instead I'm feeling ticked off. The game of life has pinched me right before the kickoff. God, I need your love to keep me stable when I lift off. Unnecessary weight, God, I need your help to strip off. I trust in you only, not those other rip-offs. Make me strong, I can't be the one they pick off. Feeling so inadequate is what I'm getting sick of. I'm grateful that the Lord saved me. See, I was left deflated. His love is like helium, the Lord raised me. The adversary's going crazy. I fight it like movies in 4K, directed by Scorsese. When there's trouble in store, my God, you will ensure that my spirit endures. Whatever comes.
I can't hear you.
Are you singing the hook? Is that you singing the hook? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pause it there, but I was trying to figure out who was singing the hook.
Yeah, that's me.
So you singing and rapping?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. I like it. I like it. This is hot.
Lord, you are my covering when the bad weather comes. With you, my worst days are made better ones. When my feet try to slip away, you keep me grounded. In this world of insanity, whoa, you keep me rooted in your space. Your love and grace surrounds me. Oh Lord, you are my gravity. Protected, a weapon that's formed can harm me. Big stepper, I leave blueprints in concrete. Big sweater, this blueprint keeps me comfy. I gotta walk with Christ, my flesh keeps me clumsy. Christ took the beating in my proxy. I'm leaning on his arms versus leaning off the oxy. Morphine catching morphines, beating up the bodies. My feet stay girded, gotta keep my spirit stocky. You're my gravity, you keep me rooted. You're the only one that's uniquely suited. Any trial, you will see me through it. You're the king of this priestly unit. I can never go AWOL, I'm not afraid of anything you send my way, Lord. You know I need you. I know I need to acknowledge you in all my ways, Lord, as I try to do your will every day, Lord. Yeah.
Wow.
When my feet try to slip away, be grounded in this world of insanity. Whoa, you keep me rooted in your space. Your love and grace surrounds me. Oh Lord, you are my gravity. When my feet try to slip away, you keep me grounded. In this world of tragedy,
is fire. That is absolute fire right there, bro. Like that's fire right there.
Thank you, bro. To God be the glory.
And here's the thing, like, the mix was really good on that. You could put it on the radio, but just like how they feel in the regular secular world, it's like they just don't want to accept that you can make music this good and not be negative at the same time. It's undeniably good. You see what I'm saying? But somebody will come in and try to pick it apart or whatever, and you're not going to tell me that Shanks is not dropping stuff that's as hot, if not hotter, than anybody who's just on the scene right now, with the exception of maybe the big three that he was talking about. So what's the difference? It's just in the promotion. It really is. I'm really starting to see that, but how do we affect those in the promotion? And you gave me the answer is the artists have to stop taking deals and tell them to do the BS. That's really the only way around it, because the other group is affected by money, and the only way to affect their money is to remove the artist. And if the artists say, hey, we're not doing that no more, they'll put money behind that, which they are doing. That's a crazy way to think about it, but that is pretty deep. So anybody who is in the chat, I just want to make sure that I see somebody put fire in the chat. So I wanted everybody to put a thumbs up in there. But like I said, the algorithm is hearing music, it's hearing God, it's hearing the word Jesus. It's like, stay away from that channel today. So no worries, though. This is what we do. This is what we do. I'm not here to appease the people. I'm here to give them the message that I was sent to give. So, Amen. So I want to get into the second track that you sent me as well, which is, what is that? It says Breathe. Okay.
Breathe.
And this is
featuring my brother, Nate World Changer. Shout out to Matt.
Nate's one of my Facebook friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on my Facebook. So shouts to Nate. Shouts to Nate, man. Now, which part of the song does he do? Is he rapping, singing? Is he producing?
He's rapping. He's rapping.
Okay. So we got Russ Shanks featuring Nate World Changer with Breathe 64 bars.
Let the beat breathe. Let the beat breathe. Yeah. Let the beat shake. Go.
This beat is conditioned to run a quarter, drove the Chevy to the levee and filled it with holy water. Once a dead pool had schools too lowly for you. Now a team of holy warriors with Christ as the employer. Ties in the spirit, we fit in the job description. I'm a witness that this power is something of comic fiction. This world is laid with garbs, higher than chicken. Unprepared, it will scramble you like embryonic chick in my past. Full of darkness, but my future's moving toward the light. The game I play against the world is unsportsmanlike. Contemplate to conform, pushing the borderline. The truth never reported, right? Showdowns or pronouns, bitches closed down. Rolling with God and have you hated in your hometown. So now we give the honor to the hoes now. City bosses just for pulling all their clothes down. Yeah, in Christ I'm fully invested. Principalities seek to punish the blessed. Fake realities taking over the message. This word inside of me is perfect, give it a chef's kiss. El dente like the pasta. For some the end is dreaded like the wrestlers. My constant sensei, I'm trained to keep my posture. No, the boxes got distinct fairy faces like Chewbacca. Millennium Falcons, my hands are never solo. Every grace by the gallon, my sins are never so-so. Running to the Father, I'm never moving in slow-mo. Confessing to the Son, he's good at keeping the bro code. Yeah, I'm sipping on living water. No pipe dream, head full of steam, just like a baller. The enemy still is a killer, thief, and destroyer. Just like the movie, his word gave us spoilers. Breathe.
Yeah. Let the beat breathe.
World changer.
Let the beat breathe.
Appreciate you, Russ.
Let the beat breathe.
Yeah.
Go.
Let the beat breathe, I'm about to choke it out. Evil can't see, the righteous smokes it out. With tear gas, wear mask, fail last out. Tear the face mask off your mascot, cash route. The inner demons, we expose them, then we irritate them. My inner matrix, that's one Neo, we killing Satan. Never call me Nathan, it's anonymous with nothing. I'm a joint air with nothing above them. My haters love them. He the one to pull their hands back if they persist. And as bad as the anthrax with slick wrists. They wondering if this was self-inflict. But you done lost your sound mind, he was the cause of it. Quit. No, I ain't here to be broken record. Or just repeat a message, Russell's addressed it. Don't let it in neglect it. And what is given is a spoken records. So this lesson is strictly a perception. In Genesis 11, he said in earth as it is in heaven. And it's safe to say that everything in heaven now works together. It was a one world language, so we got to reverence. Then y'all had to speak Spanish to French. Y'all could do some real damage to heads. Wow. Learn to manage ambition. We all hungry, bucket pass in the kitchen. Learn from my flow, master transition. I'm a pastor that's missing. He could have blasted us out of commission. But we lasted till we felt the conviction. And now we call it tradition to do it every day. Fall to his throne. And we got abundance as an addition, but can't conquer affliction. Still my life resurrected from dry bones. No joke, it's like he forcing me to win. I hope this ever might get spoke if unexpected in. Hope but don't. Had us babbling back, then lightweight black. Then the whole room illuminated. Now it's time for the comeback. Fall back, faith ain't all that. Only this combat. We ain't got a long track. We evolve faster than you. Rest with long necks. Signs that we know that our savior about to bomb back. Breathe.
Yo. Man. Now that is fire right there. We got a couple of thumbs ups in the chat as well. Man. And meanwhile, we got the goofiness playing all day. You know, I was doing a song analyzation earlier because somebody was telling me basically that certain songs were not as violent as we thought they were. And I was listening to Quiet Storm by Mobb Deep, which back in the day was considered a violent song. But I was listening to Prodigy's verse on it, and he's talking about uplifting the community, making sure that his sons got stuff. Like, basically, it's really like, I remember it being like a pumped up song, but when I was listening to it, I was like, this guy's really he's really saying something nice. He's saying, hey, I'll hurt you if you mess with my family. Like, I'm sure if you go listen to that verse later, if you haven't heard it before, go listen to Prodigy's verse on there. And he's talking about he wants to lift up the children, get them VCRs and TCRs or whatever it was, CBRs and VCRs, big screen TVs. But then he said, don't make me have to risk my freedom. So it was like he's talking about giving the kids something, and he said, but I might get out of hand. It was actually a really poignant story when I thought about it. But back in the day, I was just rapping it. I didn't even really think about what the guy was saying. So maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's because we were able to just hear music and not actually internalize it all back in the day, because it was so much different music, man. It was so much new stuff when we were coming up. It was always somebody new. It was always a new sound. There was always a new flow. Then all of a sudden, one day, it just stopped. And I don't know how to revive it, but I'll tell you what, this music you presenting, it's a start. It's a start, man. This is what we need. We need promotion behind this kind of music. You do the same thing with the Breed 64 bars that they did with They Not Like Us, and see if you don't end up having a Super Bowl show that you would have to do.
Right.
Think about it. A lot of these songs, you don't even like them when you first hear them. You're like, but then it grows on you. How? Because they force feed it to you after a while. You just get used to it. Before you know it, you're singing the words.
Right.
So if they did the same thing with a different type of music, I think we would get a much better and more positive result. So thank you to the folks who stayed in the chat, who weren't afraid to listen to gospel, hip hop, and enjoy it, because that is good music. And it wasn't whack rapping. Like, I know rap, so I would tell you if it's whack, regardless of the message. If it sucks, it sucks. And it doesn't. So what I'm saying is, why can't we push this professionalism on a positive side instead of pushing all the negative? So I'm not going to push no more negative. I'm not going to do it. All of my musical guests that I will have on this show will be doing something positive, not just some, just because you got a couple of clicks. Now, unless I bring them on to debate about the possibility of making that adjustment. But I'm not going to promote that no more. That's crazy. Not with this available. Now, before we get out of here, I got one last thing I got to cover with you because you also do some artistry. Now, would that be considered graphic art, or is that digital art or watercolor? What do we?
Just visual
art. There we go. Because it's not my genre, so I didn't know what to call it. I was like, he be drawing stuff, So, but let me bring it over here for the crowd so they can see what I'm looking at over here. Give me 1 second here. You may not be able to. I got to make sure you can see it though. Got to do that because you're gonna have to, tell them what it is. So bear with me a second. Go with this one. All right, let's see what we got here. We got the big faces. All right, so we have. Can you see the screen here?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. So is this Bruce Lee? Who do we have here?
Nah, these are characters from that show called Warrior. It's I believe Bruce Lee was supposed to produce a show like this. The series is crazy. Like if you haven't checked it out, please check it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, so it's it's back in the day where the Asian folks were coming over on the ships and they were being treated poorly by the Wahite people and everybody, and so you had these guys who were Asian, they were Asians but they had gangs, and they were doing illegal stuff to make money, to make ends meet and support their people, but of course they battled each other as well as the white people that were in power. It's an awesome show, man. You gotta check it out.
It sounds like it. It sounds like it. I didn't know that they were doing that. You said Bruce Lee was the character in it, or he's publishing it? So he's not here to do it. So
the smaller guy with the beard, that was supposed to be Bruce Lee's character before he died. It was something.
Okay.
This is just rumors that I'm hearing that this is where the show came from. He had wrote the show, but he didn't live long enough to see it come to life. So they went on and brought it to life. You know what I mean? So
that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. All right, let me get to you got a few of them here. So let me see what I got here. Go to the next one. I want to go to the next one. I had a slideshow. Where's my slideshow? Momento. I'll do it manually then since it wants to be difficult. Sorry.
Yeah, somebody in the chat say Bruce Lee began the story. Yeah, so I know it involved him.
All right. Okay. So we now have, I'm trying to get my screen clicks here together.
So this is the Alex Ross Wolverine.
I don't know why I thought it was Batman. See, that's me. I thought it was a Batman joint. I thought it was a new Batman. No, you're right. It is Wolverine. So you're doing this with a computer program?
So the iPad I have, I have a pen. I could draw directly onto the pad. So
wow,
it's all freehand. But it's I have different brushes and things like that. It's a program called Procreate, where I have different brushes, different colors, color palettes and stuff like that. It's awesome. It's like having a whole art studio on your iPad. It's awesome.
So you get to get your artistic bone taken care of in multiple ways, not just music, but you also have your artistry. And you sell this stuff online, or is it just personals like the one you did for me?
So I do. I don't. If somebody wants to buy it, I definitely will sell it to them. But I really present it as like a hobby. But then people come to me saying, "Can you do one for me? Can you do?" I just did a piece for She Flows and her fiance. They're getting married this month, and I did a picture of them as Superman and Wonder Woman to present it at their reception. So yeah, and the piece I did for you, and that started by me drawing my niece who just turned 16. she suffered from a rare form of cancer and had to get a dual transplant. And she had to go through radiation and all that. So in order to encourage her, I drew her as a superhero because, you know, when you get hit with radiation in the comic book world, you don't get hurt. You become some kind of power.
Right. You get the power.
Yeah. So
That's
I drew
cool.
her as a character that got powers through her radiation.
That's cool.
And that became a whole thing. So people have been asking me, can you draw my son as a superhero? Can you do this person as a superhero?
And you did one for me. It's in this stack somewhere. We're going to get to it in a moment. So we got another one here. Is that Black Thought?
It is Black Thought.
Okay.
My top 5 Dead or Alive MC list. Yep.
Wow, this is really good. So was this based on a picture that you already had, or you came up with the entire design just on your own?
No, it was a picture. And I just recreated it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Let me see here. I'm going to move on through. We only got a couple minutes left here. There's Batman.
Yeah.
There's Batman.
That's the Ben Affleck Batman. My favorite Batman right now.
So Ben Affleck Batman was your favorite Batman?
Yeah. First it was Christian Bale, and now it's him.
You know, I was always a fan of the Michael Keaton Batman, the original movie Batman.
I don't even rate him because he's legend. Like he's in the class.
Okay.
He's in the class by himself.
All right, cool. All right, because that was, you know, there was definitely some others that happened afterward, but for me as a child, that was the first time Batman came to life, was Michael Keaton.
Right,
you know,
right.
So him and Danny DeVito was the Penguin, I guess it was, and I'll never forget it. So that was when things started changing. That's back when cinema was great, though. I used to love going to the movies back in the days. Now there's too many fights. It's dangerous going to the movies. I bootleg everything. I'm just playing. I don't bootleg everything. I pay for a subscription service that bootlegs everything. Okay? So, all right, next joint here. This looks like Wonder Woman.
Yep.
Now, do you start with the black and white coloring, or is that something that you just decide later, I'm going to do black and white with this one? Or because I know there's a couple of them in black and white.
Yeah, I started with the black and white.
That's cool. And so how does the texturing work in this? Like, I'm seeing shine and shimmering and shadows, and you said this is all for what, Procreate?
Yeah, bro. Like the brushes, like you can select like different textures. I have a brush suite where I can just pick, like if it's like something that has like a skin that looks like skin or that's made out of rock, I can actually add that texture to it just by taking my pen and just going across it like you would do any type of shading or something like that.
Wow. Let's just keep on going here. We only got a couple more of these here. Like I said, only got a couple minutes left. Here's Superman.
Yep, the Henry Cavill Superman. Yep.
He definitely had the look. He definitely had the Superman look. You know, I still like the original Superman. I'm an original superheroes guy, you know. But I definitely think that he did a good job there, especially with the one, I think it was Batman vs. Superman. I like that one. That was slick.
Yep.
Hold on. We went the wrong direction here. So we've got, of course, King James, LeBron James.
Yep.
I got to ask you, is he the greatest of all time?
He's the greatest of this era.
He's the greatest of this time. Okay. I like that. That's a good way out of that. That's a good way out of that.
I don't get with that. You got to eliminate one to promote the other. Nah, man. I think each era had their great. Jordan was great in his era. He's the greatest of his time. LeBron is the greatest of this time. Wilt Chamberlain was the greatest of his time. Then you got Kareem. So Bill Russell. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
If time is moving, there will never be a greatest of all time because time is still going. Somebody's going to come behind LeBron and do more than he did, hopefully. You know what I mean? So
True. Like they said, as far as I'm concerned, there was Michael Jordan, and that was his time. Then the game changed a little bit, the rules changed a little bit, and now there's LeBron James. But I will say this, LeBron James has been playing NBA basketball since he was 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
And he's in his, late 30s at this point?
He's 40.
He's 40 years old, still playing. at a very high level. Now, I will say this. I don't think that Jordan did that long at that level, is what I'm saying.
And then now playing with his son, which
right. Oh, that's awesome. I can't get mad at that. I would love to be on an NBA team, and I'm there long enough that my son gets to play alongside of me. That's a proud daddy moment. And then they got mad at LeBron. People got mad at him. He just his son only in the NBA because of him. So you mad that your son can't do that because you not in the NBA? That's called privilege, and some people have it, and I wasn't mad. It's not like he wasn't a basketball player coming to the NBA, like he was a hockey player, and LeBron was just like, let's put him on the team. No, he had to go through work. He had to go through training. He had to go through being LeBron's son, which is tough enough as it is if you're not LeBron by age 6 at that point. So I give it to him, man. I told people, lay off of LeBron and his son. Let them have their little couple years together before he retires, and just let it be, man. Nobody really was upset. They made it a big deal.
Didn't Steph Curry father play?
Yeah, but not at the same time as Steph Curry. That was what it was about.
Steph Curry in the NBA, part of the reason why Steph Curry made it to the NBA is maybe because the influence his father had.
A little bit.
Same thing with the Ball family. All his sons are in the NBA. So LeBron is just catching it because he's LeBron.
He's LeBron. There you go. He's LeBron. And similar to how people didn't, in my opinion, they didn't appreciate Michael Jordan's greatness until he stopped playing basketball. I think it'll be the same way with LeBron.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let me get to the next one. I think the next one is mine. Okay. This is me as a superhero. This is superhero B.E. King. Those that don't know, this is from my past because I was good at getting into things illegally. So I remember this particular idea. Thank you, Russ, for bringing it to life. This guy's got a bulletproof suit. I'll let the people know because I know he's got a bulletproof suit. He's got super hearing, super sight, like all of the regular senses, just heightened with a bulletproof suit on. And he's a telepath. And his only weakness, sugar.
Wow.
I'm serious. I wrote it all up. His weakness is literally sugar. I thought it was hilarious because, black people, diabetes, we're like superheroes, but don't bring us no sugar and salt, boy. That's, woo! Them joints been taking us out for years. Right. So let me get to the next one here, man. All right, now we're back to the Bruce Lee one. So technically that was the last one, and it was supposed to be the first one. So sorry about that. So I'm gonna bring us back onto the full screen cam and get ready to close this out here for those that did stay tuned in. I appreciate that. But just a couple of follow-up questions at the end there. Before we wrap up, is there one message that you want to leave for the listeners, the viewers, anybody that may catch the replay of this later?
Yeah, man, the most important message I can give you, get to know who God is, man, and add him to your life. You will not be disappointed.
I like that. I've been telling people, I've been telling them, sometimes you don't need a whole bunch. What they say, faith of a mustard seed, right? You don't need a lot. You need that sprinkle, and that's enough to get you to start making better decisions. And Absolutely. As that seed grows, everything in your life will start to take a much better kind of a perspective. Things won't seem so negative if you surround yourself with God, you surround yourself with positive energy, and you start listening to the voice of what he's telling you to do. Yeah, that's how you move forward. I like what you said. And just so we know, where can people find your music or your art pieces if they need to?
So my music is on all digital outlets. You can stream it on everything that's out there right now. I know the main one, Spotify, iTunes, Tidal, all that stuff. I know. So my music is there, but all the other ones like Beezer and all of that, whatever it's called. But you can find me on social media at Russ Shanks Music. That's RussShanks Music. That's my Facebook and Instagram and TikTok handles. So you can find me there. You can find my artwork on my Facebook page under in my photos. The album is called Mad Sync Designs. I also have a Mad Sync Designs page on Instagram. So you can find Mad Sync Designs on Instagram as well as Facebook, Mad Sync Designs. And that's Mad with 2 Ds. Shout out to my Mad Sync crew. Shout out to which is my label, my music label. I have 3 artists that accompany me on that label. Shout out to Bodega, Turn Up, and Nate World Changer. They my brothers for life. I love them, and they putting out good stuff too. So if you find them, check them out too, please.
Right, and I wanted to throw a couple more shouts out there as well to my man Fisherman. He's still up. He came back to Baltimore recently, so I know he's still doing his thing. He got into acting. He used to rap. We used to rap together, so I just want to give him a shout as well. Because like I said, I realized I know a whole bunch of people in that genre who just are very good. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, if I can have anything to do with it, I'll bring them on my little platform, and at least somebody can hear this stuff outside of just, in the local area. It's very tough, man. It really is. And I don't mind staking my name on it and putting my channel on the line for it, because I think it's worth being heard. I think the conversation is worth being had, and I think the music is worth being heard. And I'm pretty sure that at least everybody who came in today felt the same way. I didn't hear any negative things, or nobody had any negative to say in the chat. And I will say this was the calmest chat ever. Normally they'd be wilding out in the chat. I think they were a little bit afraid. They see Shanks coming with the big beard, and they were like, maybe this isn't the dude we talk about. We're just going to stay quiet. People viewed it. So I do appreciate you stopping by and spending a little bit of time with me. We're going to do it again, but I definitely wanted to start to weave in my musical artists. And really, this was a test run to see if I could run the episode with music and a person at the same time. So this actually did much better than I thought it would. I thought I was going to mess the whole thing up. So I appreciate you for being a guinea pig in that regard. I didn't tell you that's what you were, but I knew that you would be okay with it. So I just figured we'd run with the flow, man. I thank you so much. I thank you so much for that. So nonetheless, I just want to give a shout to everybody that's in the chat that stayed in here, hung out with us for an hour or so, had a little conversation. You'll see these pieces on the shorts if you want to check them out. If you want to share the live, go ahead and do so. But Russ, unless you have anything else to say, I'm getting ready to get out of here. You got anything else for the people?
Nope, man. I'm going to say bless God, bless y'all. God bless everybody that tuned in. Bless you. Stay cool, man. Much success to you, brother. Appreciate you.
All right. Well, y'all heard it first. Russ has blessed y'all, so that means you are definitely going to have, if nothing else, a good day. But if you don't have a good day after this positive conversation that he and I have had, we haven't had no argument on here. Ain't nobody been cussing and fussing. It's been all good vibes, man. And if it's not good vibes, folks, then that, my friends, is the bull. I'm not gonna say